Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to another exciting Faith Matters conversation. Let me begin by saying that, yes, I know that there's a problem with our Epiphany website right now. Apologies. It got pointed out to me 3 minutes before the 8 o'clock service began, and so there was precious little I could do about it then, and obviously Sunday morning is sort of busy, and I have not had an opportunity to deal with that, and we will try to deal with that, but it's not going to happen this morning. So, if you have not already downloaded your bulletin, I'm sorry. If you have a Book of Common Prayer, it would be a good thing to have it handy if you're going to be part of our 10 o'clock service, because this morning we are going to be doing a baptism. And that is a bit of a different service than what we typically do, at least in sort of our COVID world. But I'm very excited about this because we have found ways to baptize, and every single time we do it, it's a little bit different. But you can expect nothing less in the year of innovation. I heard a guy talk about that in the pulpit last Sunday. This is the year of innovation here at Epiphany, and so we continue to find ways to innovate. This morning we're going to do the beginning part of the service, the Liturgy of the Word, in the church, broadcast on Facebook just like we normally do. But after the sermon, when it's time to do the baptism, we're going to transition outside where the baptismal font is and where the baptismal family will be waiting, and we're going to do the baptism outside so that we are a little bit more COVID sensitive because there's too many folks to be in the building right now. And then we'll move everything back inside. So it's going to be sort of a movable feast today, if you will. Just when you think things are settling down, they change again. And so we're getting very accustomed to change and learning to roll with the punches. So,
belated good morning.
Hey. There he is. Good morning, Father Chris. So, brothers and sisters, this is a forum where we discuss the gospel. We take a look at it, and while the sermon tends to be one-directional, we talk, you listen. This class is intended to be a dialogue, so we want to know what you think, and we'll read the gospel together, and then we'll just see how that works. And the way you respond is by typing questions or comments in the comment feature here on Facebook Live. So, with no further ado, let me give you this morning's gospel passage from Mark. After Jesus and his disciples left the synagogue, they entered the house of Simon and Andrew with James and John. Now Simon's mother-in-law was in bed with a fever, and they told him about her at once. He came and took her by the hand and lifted her up. Then the fever left her, and she began to serve them. That evening at sundown, they brought to him all who were sick or possessed with demons. And the whole city was gathered around the door. And he cured many who were sick with various diseases and cast out many demons. And he would not permit the demons to speak because they knew him. In the morning, while it was still very dark, he got up and went out to a deserted place, and there he prayed. And Simon and his companions hunted for him. When they found him, they said to him, "Everyone is searching for you." He answered, "Let us go on to the neighboring towns, so that I may proclaim the message there also, for that is what I came out to do." And he went throughout Galilee, proclaiming the message in their synagogues and casting out demons.
There's a lot of different stuff in that. What a busy day.
It's kind of a busy day for our Lord and Savior.
Or evening and then morning and then, geez.
So, what did you hear? What challenged you? What attracted you? What repulsed you? What might have been fresh for you that you hadn't heard before? What did you hear with new ears in this strange COVID world we live in?
You know what I heard for the first time and actually thought about it this time? Was the mother-in-law thing. So Simon was married because he had a mother-in-law.
Yes, he did.
So they're like, wait, what? I never, you just kind of roll over that. But today it just kind of hit me like, all right, was his wife still there? Was his wife dead? How is she? Like, what? Anyways, that just jumped out at me today that he actually had a mother-in-law, therefore he was married, man.
He did, in fact. Somebody asked, Judy asked, is this the same Simon who became Peter? Yes. Yes. It gets kind of weird. It's like a Russian Dostoevsky novel. Everyone's got 3 different names. So we have Simon, we have Peter, we have Cephas. Those are all the same person.
Kind of like roads in Las Vegas.
Kind of like trying to drive down Hualapai in Las Vegas, right?
Fort Apache, Rampart.
Fort Apache's here, but then it's
Durango.
here. Then it starts again, way up. Never mind that. Yeah. Yeah, so Peter is the same one, and that's what that tells us. Peter was, in fact, married. And that's another interesting thing. I hadn't even thought of this until I just started looking at it. They entered the house of Simon and Andrew. So Peter, let's just call him Peter from this point because it makes life easier. Are we all good with that? So Peter and Andrew are brothers, and they go into Peter and Andrew's house. What that means is it was actually their father's house. Because if they had their own separate place, it would have been one or the other. Since it was both their houses, then it was the father's house. But it's absolutely correct. So Peter had a mother-in-law, and she was living in that house. Because women at that time didn't tend to have their own property. They lived with a father or a husband or some family in that way. Okay, let's see what you guys have to say. Interesting that we don't hear much about demons these days. Yep, that's true.
Right.
We talked a bit about that last time too. I think we call them different things today. We have named them. Science has given us diagnoses for them, but they're still demons nonetheless. It's just a question of how we recognize them.
The whole city was gathered around the door.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people in one doorway.
It's true. It's true. Brian comments that there's a spiritual dimension to disease and mental illness that we're far from understanding. Amen. And that goes along with the demons that we're talking about. You know, people are still consumed by demons. We just call it mental illness now. What is it that demons know Jesus, but humans don't always get it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They knew who he was, and he wasn't letting them talk. Wow.
Yeah. And it's interesting because this is a generation that is always looking for signs, right? They always want Jesus to demonstrate his bona fides, to hey, if you're really the Son of God, show me a miracle. Walk on water, you know, take some loaves and fishes and feed a bunch of people. Do something. It's almost like a parlor trick, right? It's like you're in a Penn and Teller show. That's not what Jesus was interested in doing. But he did all of those things, and it didn't make any difference anyway. People witnessed all those miracles, and they still didn't get it. But the demons, they knew exactly who he was because he had power over them.
Right. Well, and they were from the spiritual realm. You know what I mean? So
Right.
they understood all that. Angels and spirit world.
Yeah.
So interesting.
So we have a whole section here. Kelly sort of alludes to it when she's talking about the scene from Jesus Christ Superstar, where Jesus is really getting overwhelmed by the illness in the world and all the people who are really trying to just get a piece of him to get healed. Jesus had a healing gift. There's absolutely, that's beyond dispute. But that's not why Jesus came to earth. And we see that illustrated very clearly at the very end, where here's something that I noticed for the first time. I give you that little spiel every time in the beginning, but one of the things I had not seen before was the sentence, and Simon and his companions hunted for him.
Yeah.
I like that word, hunted for him. It's almost like he's their prey and they have to find him and trap him and force him to do what they want him to do. Because everyone wants to be healed. Everyone has a need. But Jesus says, let's go on to the neighboring town. Let's not go back where we just came from and do more of that. I did that already. Let's go elsewhere. Let's keep going because I came to proclaim the message. Not to heal people, but to proclaim the message. And that's a really important thing for us to know. One of the things that we have to do, we have to discern throughout our life, what is our mission? What is it that we are put on this earth to do as individuals and together as the church? What are we here to do? And sometimes it's not the thing that we have the ability to do, it's something else. What do I mean by that? Jesus could easily have just set himself up as a village healer. He could have been the faith healer. Everyone from the surrounding towns would have come to him. He could have put a sign out, healings from 9 to 5, Monday through Saturday, not on the Sabbath.
Sliding scale fee.
Sliding scale fee, right? And he could have healed a lot of people, and that would have been a life very well lived. He had that gift, but that was not his purpose. He had something even more challenging and more difficult to do, and he didn't stop at the easy thing, because healing for Jesus seems to have been pretty easy. He went to the much harder thing, which required, well, ultimately self-sacrifice on his part. All right, I'm preaching. Let's get back to your comments. There's a tendency with priests to fall into that preaching thing.
I never had that problem.
Speaking of that, Father Chris, you've been abundantly quiet. Usually it's the other way.
You know, part of the quiet is because there's these readings today invite questions that don't come up with very tidy, quick, fully resolved answers.
Oh, yeah.
Clearly, for those of you who haven't read all of them, there's this theme of healing. And as Father Rick was just alluding to, what percentage of the good news of Jesus is healing? And Father Rick, I think, also correctly suggested it's important, but not so much. There was a way bigger message. And today's readings has the passage from Corinthians where Paul, who may have also had sort of a gift of healing here and there, and did actually, but it was so not a part of his ministry either. And his was spreading the message, and the good news included health, but it was really a small facet thereof. And so I guess these readings are all dancing around the topic, but how exactly we are supposed to feel about God's capacity to heal us and what we do with the health once we get it. I took a stab at it at 8 a.m. sermon, but as you clearly saw, I can stir the pot, but it doesn't exactly resolve itself.
Well, if I can paraphrase for you, one of the things that Chris talked about at the 8 o'clock service, and I can say this because I know he has a whole different sermon planned for 10.
You're right.
I know. We've been doing this a long time now, Garfunkel. Sorry, I thought the phone was dropping. My wife was just taking it. That's okay.
You're good.
Where was I going?
Sorry.
It's okay. Oh!
Sermon.
Peter's mother-in-law. So she's ill, and we don't get too much, but she's in bed with a fever, and that does not sound like fun. And they didn't have a lot of great medicine there, so that was not a good thing. Jesus comes into the house, takes her by the hand, lifts her up, and she's well. The very first thing she does is begin to serve them. Now, ladies, before you start commenting and getting crazed here, this was a different time. Let's not take our 21st century Western Christian eyes and look back on first century Palestine with disdain. Serving those people, serving that household was really what she did. That was her way of giving back to the family that had taken her in. She was the mother-in-law, so that means and she was living with her son-in-law. That means her husband was dead.
Right.
And so she was part of that family unit, and she had found her purpose in that family world and immediately resumed her purpose without any fanfare, without any commentary. There wasn't this like, "Oi, you should have seen how sick I was." She didn't post it on Facebook. There was none of that. It was just like, "Wow, Jesus, you fixed me. let me go back to doing what I do, which is caring for other people. Take away the whole service thing and just recognize that she chose to give back by caring for others. That there's real power there. She had been given an amazing gift, and she immediately went to what her purpose was. And that's echoed in what we just talked about with Jesus, saying, yeah, I have this ability, but that's not my purpose. This is my purpose, and that's how I'm going to engage myself in this time.
Yeah. And then somebody else kind of caught it too. The part where Jesus has to go out by himself and pray before he can go on. He needs to recharge his battery. I love how they put that in there, because you can drive yourself in the ground doing your purpose if you're not careful. And take your time to be with God and get recharged. And I love that Jesus did that and put that in, or somebody put that in there, that it was important enough.
Yeah, Jesus didn't get a moment's peace. From, morning, noon, and night, they were expecting things of him. As Chris was talking this morning at the sermon, I was like, Jesus really was the first clergy. It kind of works that way sometimes.
What an example.
And then Jesus goes and teaches all of us that you have to take time for yourself. There's that old aphorism, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Yep.
You've got to find time to recharge. So Jesus got up in the morning while it was still very dark. So he didn't get up just before sunup. He got up way before sunup. Why? To be away from people. He went out to a deserted place where there was nobody around, and he prayed. He needed that time of just quiet. He needed that time of recharge to refresh himself so that he could go about the mission. There is something to that for all of us to learn, my friends. It's important to serve. It is utterly important to serve. We're called to love God and love our neighbor, right? But we can't do that if we have exhausted ourselves to the point that we don't have the capacity to do either of those. And I'm preaching again. Somebody stop me, will you?
Well, I'll take a stab at Dina Davenport's statement. I really don't get the reading from Isaiah. Dina, I'm not going to pretend that I understand this or all of Isaiah completely, but this is clearly one of the many times in the Bible where there's a reminder of the hugeness of God.
Yep.
And we know from a million Psalms, for God 10,000 years is but a day, and we're like grass that withers. And this is definitely one of those perspective reminders, which actually to a spiritual listener, to a spiritual being, a reminder of God's omniscience and the fact that God resides outside of time can be not only a comfort, but also it also can assist the hearer in terms of placing themselves, or maybe there are a lot of values to move away from narcissism or egotism, or take ourselves or our ministries too seriously, but at the same time, don't undervalue them either, because we are created by a God this awesome. And that's what all these lessons are doing today, is this juxtaposition. Like, how important is the message besides healing? How important is a little healing of one mother-in-law of one little itty-bitty fever in the context of Jesus's great big giant ministry? Well, the answer is, it is important. That's why it's in a very short gospel, the Gospel of Mark. And why in this reading from Isaiah, at the end, he talks about people do get faint. They do get weak. We have our little stray moments, our distracted moments, but keep it in perspective with a God that's that huge. I think that's the primary message of this, what do we call pericopes and snippets? This passage from Isaiah.
Yeah, he shall renew their strength.
Yeah, thank you.
Like,
this is the healer's dream.
With wings like eagles.
Like Jesus.
They shall run and not be weary.
And he renewed
They shall walk and not faint.
Yeah.
Oh.
I know. I love that passage.
Isaiah, whoa, what a poet.
I was singing the song. That's all.
What a poet.
Yeah. But yeah.
Kelly has it absolutely right on. Service is a byproduct of gratitude. Amen, sister.
Yeah. Oops. We disappeared into cyberspace.
Hopefully we're still on. I'm not sure. Looks like so.
That's...
What else? This is a great conversation. What else did you hear? What might have been new? What might have been challenging to you?
I see that he's still going into the synagogues, so it's still early in his ministry.
It is. Yeah, this is Mark chapter 1.
Yeah.
So we're
He's
quite
still
early
able
on.
to go in there.
Yeah. And that actually brings us back to that miracle question. He goes from town to town into their synagogues and casts out demons. That's a big deal. Those are miracles. Those are miraculous events. And still people didn't get it. They were like, oh yeah, well, do something else.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat. No, that's not good enough. Can you make that lion disappear?
Right.
Still not good enough.
You're right, because the last week, that demon person was in the synagogue, and this, again, he's saying, in the synagogue, he's casting out demons.
Right.
So he was performing those acts in the synagogue in front of all those people, and they're still like, whatever, give us some more stuff.
That or taking offense that he did it on the Sabbath.
And since they were all gathered in the synagogue, it's likely that they were doing it on the Sabbath, because that's when they gather.
Right. Wow.
You could hear them thinking too, yeah, he's a demon, but he's our demon.
Don't take that away.
Right.
Well, we actually have situations in the Gospels where Jesus heals somebody of their demons and heals that slave who had the demons. And the owners of the slave are very angry because they had been using the demon in that girl to sort of like tell fortunes. Yeah. And that was how they made their money.
Right.
And Jesus destroyed their livelihood, and they weren't happy. They weren't happy.
Interesting.
Like all the hedge fund managers on Wall Street right now with GameStop. They're not happy either.
Good question.
Are we singing Eagle's Wings today? You know what, Kelly? I don't even remember.
I don't know.
I've had so many details going on in my head. And I tell you to go to the website and look for it, but the website's down. So Wormwood is with us, my friends. We all have our little challenges that mess us up. We had ours this morning. Jen and I got in the car to get here, and we were already a bit late. My fault. And I pressed the button for the garage door, and it went up halfway. And wouldn't go anymore.
Can't get a
so
car
we broke one of our
halfway over the
springs. We had to all do it manually. Yep, had to use my good left arm here, and then we had to hold the door up. Well, the other one drove the cars out. Anyway, we were a good 20 minutes late getting here this morning, and everything has just been cascading since then.
I'm glad you just noticed that it only went half. I'm trying to remember which church member just told me they recently backed into their garage.
He almost did.
I had the car in reverse, and I looked over my shoulder and I still saw the door, and I hit the brake real quick.
We almost did.
It was a near thing. I almost went right through the door.
We didn't, and we got here safe, and we just have to change springs. We are not singing that today, I don't think.
You can be fooled into accepting your own demons. Yep. Yeah. That's a good point, Rosalie.
Wow.
Yeah, and what we find is we give our demons a break a lot more than we give other people's demons a break, don't we?
Well, we think our demons are so interesting, too. We share abundantly about our demons with others.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I know
people post their demons on Facebook all the time.
Now it's not a stigma as much.
Right.
Yeah.
You ever listen to a country music song? They're all about people's demons.
Huh. Interesting.
Judy, we'll think about getting the hymn numbers to you. I'm not sure how. We got a whole lot of machinations and logistics to deal with today, but if I can make it happen, I will.
Well, a lot of this demon talk, too, I think roots back to the fact that, as Rick was suggesting 2 Sundays ago, human beings and Christians, sometimes especially, can be resistant to change. And having a demon who is within you go out of you and not be in you is a huge change.
Oh yeah, there are some people who would be much more comfortable saying, you know what, you hear the old phrase, the devil you know is better than the devil you
That's what I
don't?
was thinking.
Right.
I'll keep the demon I have, thank you very much. I've learned to live with him. Well, that's
Ouch.
really not it, my friends.
Yeah, and it goes past tolerance to almost like they're buddies.
Yeah.
You're familiar with that, and
Oh,
you're
yeah.
afraid of whatever else is out there.
I kind of
'Cause-
like my demon because when I want to kind of act in a tough way, I can use my demon is always there
Devil
for
made
me.
me do.
The demon's always there to cut me another slice of cake or pour me another drink. And if I can blame the demon, I don't have to take responsibility for it myself. It's not me, it's him. And what are you going to do? He's a demon.
Yeah.
It's just the lot I've been dealt in life. Yeah, there was a way to rationalize everything, isn't there?
Dina posted the hymn numbers.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thank you.
bless you, Dina.
Yep.
You're awesome.
I know him.
I don't think we've ever had the website go down like that today. I mean, at the 8 o'clock, a lot of the people at our in-person worship
It was noticeable.
draw it up on their phone, and
Yes.
today we had to go print last-minute extra
Yeah.
copies. But that's a first, is it not? We've never had
I
an
don't-
issue with the website.
right.
Every once in a while, we
But
run
not while
into
we're trying to
issues.
work it. Yeah, we're lucky we haven't. had
We've been
issues.
we've been incredibly
we really
fortunate.
have been.
We're going
Today's
on
one
a
those
year
days.
of broadcasting and hundreds and hundreds of broadcasts over that year, and I think our total number of challenges have been under 10. So we've been very, very fortunate and very blessed. Doesn't mean that the times it doesn't work are not frustrating
Right.
and somewhat annoying,
Yeah.
but we persevere
That's right.
because, hey, this is the year of innovation, brothers and sisters, and we find ways through it.
The demons are at work today. I'm
The
telling
demons are at
you.
work.
They are working a little hard today.
Wormwood
So-
is out there.
Pray for the armor. Fight them off. Anyways, yeah, it's that kind of day.
Brian asks, when Jesus said, "Get behind me, Satan," in response to something that Peter said, stop moving, phone, was he talking to Peter, or did he actually see Satan in the spiritual world and speak to him?
Good question.
Brian, you're going to love this answer because it's one I give you all the time. I don't know.
Right. Good question.
It's always a great question.
It's a good question.
If you want my belief, I think he was just being provocative to Peter. I don't think he necessarily saw Satan standing behind him. I think he put it in those terms to really shake up Peter and say, "Whoa, that's a thought from the wrong side of the tracks."
And I'm not sure I believe this, but it could be a both and.
It could be.
Yeah.
It could be.
I'm more inclined to Father Rick's answer, but
But
I don't know that eliminates
the temptation
the
was
fact
there.
that a demon was being
Yeah.
spoken to at the same time.
Uh-oh.
Rosalie has the final word, as
The
always.
demon.
The demon got cast out and went into our website. There's our problem. Never mind going into the pigs, it went into our website. So
Yeah.
that's our problem. We had a demon in the website.
What do they chant in The Exorcist?
I don't know, but
The something of God.
I don't know. We'll come up with something.
We need to
Exorcism.
get.
you need to,
But when they're all there with their
Can we
crucifixes,
do the exorcism
what
on
is
the
that
website?
chant?
But we have to throw holy water on the website. That would be not a
A
good
no-no.
thing.
Oh gosh.
That would be a good thing.
The something of God surround you. Or,
I don't know. Time to innovate, guys.
We'll come up with something. We can make that work. Okay, my friends, so time is running out on our time together. I do want to let you know that we will have a Lenten study series this coming Lent, and it will be led by our resident postulant, Peter Steinbrenner. He's going to take as his text actually the same study that we began last year but were prevented from finishing. It's a wonderful book by a great priest named Henri Nouwen called With Burning Hearts, and it's a multi-week study on Eucharistic life together. Short book, but really powerful, and there's some great opportunity for Q&A. That's going to take place Tuesday evenings via Zoom, so it will be responsive and interactive in a way that this isn't quite. An email went out to the parish the other day with information about it. When the website comes back up, I will get that info posted to the website. We'll get it out on Facebook. The way you register for that is to send an email to Peter, and I'll get his email out to everybody. So he'll give you all the Zoom passwords, and you'll need to secure yourself, if you don't already have it, a copy of the book. So that's going to be a really good study, and I'm looking forward to it this year. All right, brothers and sisters, we're going to wrap this up because we have a baptism in 30 minutes, and we have to go meet with the baptismal party. Year of innovation once again. So bless you. We look forward to seeing you in half an hour.
Bye, everyone.